In 2005, I went to the Idea Fitness Conference in Las Vegas. On the last day of the conference, I was on my way to walk around Las Vegas before I met my friend Cindy Royd for the buffet at the Bellagio. On my way out, I ran into my dear friend Jay Blahnik, who was walking to his last session of the day. He told me that he was on his way to present a session on pedometers. I had indicated that I had a little contempt for pedometers and told him that I really didn't consider walking real exercise. The science was against me that day. As it turns out, any small movement during the day can really add up. And if you do just a little more of what you do every day, you can see big results in your health. Researchers in Japan and Tennessee have shown that if you can go from walking 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day, which most office workers do, to walking 10,000 steps a day, which is equivalent to moving about an hour and a half a day, you can really boost your health. An hour and a half of walking a day sounds like a lot, until you think that we're usually awake for 16 hours a day, and sitting or lying down for most of that. That means that if you walk or just move around for 6 minutes of every hour that you're awake, then you've met your goal. It sounds easier if you break it down further to 3 minutes every half hour, or a minute and a half every 15 minutes. If you walk to the end of the hall and back every 15 minutes, people might think you're a little kooky, but you'll be more likely to live longer and have the last laugh. Another way to look at it is as steps. It takes about 35 steps to walk from my desk to the student receptionist working at the end of the hall. That's about 70 steps, round trip. If I walk out there 14 times a day to say, "Good job" to the student, or fill my cup with water, I've done 1/10 of my goal for the day. It pays to use a small coffee cup. Something more dramatic would be where you park. It takes about 90 steps to walk from the front door of my building to the closest parking place if it happens to be available. If I park in this parking structure behind the closest space, I can increase my steps to 220 for that one trip. Since I'm unlikely to get the closest space in the structure, I can build over 500 steps round trip. That's why when exercise experts are asked for simple things people can do for exercise without going to the gym, and we're always asked this, we say the same 3 things. Park your car further from your destination, take the stairs instead of the elevator, and carry your groceries. Parking far from your destination is one of the best things you can do for your health, and that happens to be a really easy goal for most people at UCI. So I sat there listening to Jay talk about how easy it was for sedentary people to get exercise with pedometers, and I thought to myself, this is a really great option for the vast majority of Americans. I changed my mind. I lost my contempt for pedometers. They work. After the presentation, I said goodbye to Jay and went off to the Bellagio to meet Cindy. After the buffet, Cindy and I walked through Caesar's Forum shops and talked, and I went to my car and checked my pedometer, which I got for free at Jay's session, and I was stunned to see that I had walked 4,000 steps. 4,000 steps after I put on that pedometer at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Apparently I made more trips to the buffet than I had remembered. A week later, here at UCI, my director Jill asked us what ideas we had for new programs for the new year. I suggested a pedometer-based walking program, and she said, let's go with that. 6 months later, we launched Step Up UCI, and 1,600 faculty and staff members signed up for the program. Some of those 1,600 were already on exercise programs, which also count as steps, but many weren't. For them, a small behavioral change was something they could easily actualize. And one great advantage of pedometers is that you can check your pedometer throughout the day, or just once a day, and it's a tangible record of your success. The pedometer is proof that you're successful. So for this program, the grandchild of Step Up UCI, we are encouraging that you start your new healthy habits by making your behavioral changes as small as possible for big results. Most of you have retirement plans. They work the same way. If I asked you to save $24,000 today, you'd probably tell me that that was an unreasonable goal. However, if I asked you to save $100 a month, which is just about what my iPhone bill is, for 20 years, then you'd have saved $24,000. If you have compounded interest at 5% a year, then you'd have over $40,000 at the end of 20 years. If you had a goal of losing 30 pounds of fat, you might fail if you had to go to the gym and suffer and sweat 5 times a week. However, if you break it down to losing just 1 pound a week, it becomes almost too easy to pass up. A pound of fat is 3,500 calories. That means that you just have to decrease your total caloric intake by 500 calories for the day, or increase your exercise to burn 500 calories a day to lose that pound a week. A 32 ounce of Coke is 300 calories a day. What if you gave up 2 Cokes a day? That's a pound a week. Guess how many calories 10,000 steps a day burns? It varies greatly, depending on many factors, but if you're 150 pounds, you'll burn about 500 calories a day if you walk 10,000 additional steps. If you weigh 200 pounds, it takes fewer steps. More importantly, it's easy to form habits if they don't require a big motivational wave to initiate. And if you reward yourself after every small success, then you've set a desire to continue healthy habits and build a platform from which you can spring to greater success. BJ Fogg suggests that people floss just 1 tooth, yes, just 1 tooth, as a healthy habit to anchor to an existing habit. No habit is too small for success. Everything counts. When you engineer small successes and early successes, you're engineering hope, and hope is fuel for motivation. When you're more motivated, you're more likely to get the big stuff done. So to get something really big done, it's really wise to shrink it down to something that has many tiny steps. At this point in the program, we're focusing on small daily habits that you can do for a lifetime that will make you healthier and happier. But later, we'll encourage you to set larger goals for yourself, and you can organize the big goals much like the smaller habits. I've given you a few examples of how to break down bigger goals, but here's a way that you can set up the next big behavior to become one of your unconscious habits. David Allen, author of Getting Things Done, would ask, what's the next action? He doesn't ask, what is everything that it takes to get your goal actualized? What's the next thing that needs to happen on that path towards that goal? What does that mean? We work here at a university where lots of students have the large goal of graduating with one of the finest degrees in the world. We break it down for them. What's the next action for a freshman at UCI? You sign up for Humanities Core. Then the next class. Then the next class. After 4 or 6 years, the student has that degree. Let's suppose that you've always wanted a beautiful garden. What's the next step? It's not to turn over the lawn in the backyard and take out all the grass roots. That's a Herculean task, and it is probably the reason you haven't done it until now. Go online and buy just 1 dahlia root. Don't buy 10, buy just 1. I recommend the dahlia called Just Peachy. Then what's the next step? Clear a patch in your yard that's just about as big as your 2 feet as they're placed together, or buy a pot from the hardware store. Then take those next steps to care for that 1 plant and enjoy the blooms that you'll get all summer. Then next year, you'll have 3 roots from that first one, and you can buy more if you've motivated to clear more ground. Eventually, you'll have a beautiful garden. The important thing is to take that next step. Today, you only need to do the next step. If you can't feed 100 people, then feed just 1. John Wooden said, when you improve a little each day, eventually big things occur. Don't look for the quick, big improvement. Seek the small improvement. 1 day at a time. That's the only way it happens. And when it happens, it lasts. If you have the time to listen to me talk about your next step, you have the time to spend the next 5 minutes it takes to do the next thing that will lead to your goal. Pick a tiny habit, preferably one that will make you healthier or happier. Anchor it to an old habit and reward yourself. Commit to doing that new habit every time you do your anchor habit. Reward yourself every time you complete your small step and see how far those steps will take you.